Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is Equinox. It's a sequel to The Migration. It was written by Sean Little, and he will be GMing it for us. This is episode 2. Our recap will be done by Troy Wheeldryer as his character, Mom Mackenzie. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Troy?
Mama always said, trust no man. All you get from trusting a man is a broken heart and a broken soul. Once I was old enough, she'd add, and probably VV. Mama was a working girl who bopped around in the gold towns that sprung up out west. She probably expected me to follow in her footsteps. Not a lot of other options for a gal out there. Her words were wise, though, and I always tried kept them in my mind, even though I left them Gold Town whorehouses as soon as I could afford a train ticket. Seems as though old Ma didn't take her mama's lesson to heart this time. Maybe them bug or crab or hell, I don't know, damn things got a screw loose in my mind. I still see them in my dreams sometimes, fluttering around my head like moths at a light bulb. Still, all the gents I saw them things with at the mine got the letter too. And maybe that made it easier to go along with this cockamamie treasure hunt down America. I don't trust them necessarily, but they know they're real. The money would sure be nice right about now too. Hell, if Dominion is able to outdo Hollywood and get sound in a moving picture, they must have some serious cash. So now I'm hunting some godforsaken greenstone and some damn pile of mud the engine's built up and God knows when. Doc Brody seems a little off, though. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that one. I've seen that look on a man before. Poor bastard stumbled into town after his hunting party got lost. God knows what he had to do to survive in the woods during winter. In town, he'd fly off the rails for any damn reason at all. Ended up killing a whore and himself in a drunken rage one night. Well, Ma's gotten pretty good with her fists and a rifle over the years. Hopefully she don't have to use them on the poor old Doc.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as we left off, you had been provided by Zephyr Montague with information on the box. You saw the box that from your quick examination appears to be something that would fit in that would fit to the star-shaped object that was showed to you by Mr. Deersworth in the film you saw. And then there's the letter, of course, from Ms. Baudelaire to her father. So you've been provided with this information, and Mr. Montague, Dr. Montague says, so what do you think? What do you people, from your experience, your investigative experience from what happened up in Canada, I've got some ideas how you could help. Mr. Deersworth has his own ideas. I see you've got your balloon. There's a couple of things we could use all of you for. Do you have any ideas what you'd like to do? Like what you think you could add to this investigation?
I'm not quite sure what my balloon's going to do to help you. We ain't going to find your missing thing up in the sky.
We might, but proceed.
I'm not sure why I'm here at all, except that I was there.
I agree with Dr. Brody. I'm really I'm in the dark about all this. I don't know why on earth anyone would have. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to come here, but I don't really understand why anyone would request my presence at something like this. I'm not really an archaeologist.
Well, Mr. Deersworth thinks that you have some special knowledge that the rest of us don't have.
What does Mr. Deerworth want with these objects?
Well, Captain Montgomery, perhaps you could explain some of the work you've done for the organization in the past?
Oh, well, I suppose. As I said, work for acquisitions department. I am a glorified treasure hunter, I suppose. Um, I find items of interest and bring them back for the domain to be studied and find out what origin they've come from and see if we can find out more from them. Just while we're on the subject, quickly, I was going to ask, where exactly did you find this box with the letter and everything? I can't remember if you mentioned that or not.
The box has been floating around the Chalmers property, the people whose land we're leasing use of right now. It has been used for a number of things by them, storing crummy old silverware that they seem to like.
Trinkets
used for storing
Are
things.
the Chalmers in some way related to the Baudelaires?
I don't know that for sure. I do know that, well, just for your information, they live, and he points down this one roadway. This is their property, to both sides of the creek, or, well, they call it a river. It's not a river. They own this property. There's a Mr. and don't call the other the Mrs. She's in fact his daughter and her daughter. There's a little bit of a family thing we've gathered, and we've been just advised not to refer to her as the Mrs. because she's his daughter. They live there. She owns a grocery store in town, a small one, grocery supply store. Not entirely sure what he does for a living, but he doesn't seem to be very well off. I have a feeling that he's living off of money in the bank, perhaps, or the proceeds of his daughter's store. We're not entirely sure. But we're paying to lease his property. The box was in their possession.
And they've given you the box?
Yes. Actually, I saw it. They didn't seem to have any significance to them. And to be honest, I played up. I needed something to carry some things, and I needed a box to carry papers in. Once I looked at it when they were signing.
And you knew what it was, right?
I had a quick, once I saw the shape in the bottom, I thought, oh, maybe they'll let me borrow this. And they actually let me have it for a small sum.
Good call.
I'm sorry, what was the family's last name again?
Chalmers.
Chalmers.
Yes.
And do you know the gentleman's name? His first name?
Yes, just a moment here. Arthur is the father. He's in his early 50s. And Andrew, not Arthur. I'm sorry, Andrew. Hope is his daughter, who runs a grocery store, and they have a young daughter. Well, sorry, again, my mistake. I've made that mistake many a times, and I get called out on it. April is the granddaughter that lives with them. She's around 10, I would assume. Skittish girl, but very, very eager. You can see in her eyes that she's very interested in everything we do. We catch her up in a tree watching us from a distance. We've caught her in the bushes and watching us. She doesn't like the dogs, though. I'll tell you that. Every time they start barking, she scurries off.
Well, that's another thing. Why so many dogs? Is this just guards?
We were led to believe that there's a lot of bear issues in this area.
Excellent.
So we decided that rather than hiring more people, we just set dogs around the perimeter and keep an eye on them. Oddly enough, they don't stop barking all day long. And you can hear that there's always at least one dog yipping or barking. Nothing in particular, it seems.
So if I'm going to lay this out the way I understand it, you've traveled here because you think that this object might be here somewhere, possibly buried in the Indian burial mound, which isn't an Indian burial mound. You said it's far too modern a structure, and that you're excavating it hoping to find this object.
Yes, that is our hope.
Sorry, can I interrupt for a second? You're saying modern for the Indians. Is that true?
Well, he said it was only about 40 years old, the mound.
Right.
It's not really, it looks like an Indian mound, but it's not.
So that would put it like 1890. Wasn't that still around the time when the Indians were still
No,
populating some of the areas?
not that.
Not the ones that were constructing these mounds.
Well, it would be around the time that Baudelaire was here with his cult, correct?
Oh, the cult was not here, as
Oh.
we understand. The cult was out west.
But Emily's grave was here. There was a gravestone.
So was her father here? Was this where she sent the letter to?
This is what we haven't investigated.
Well, we'll need to investigate that. Perhaps this object was part of this cult. And when Emily left the cult and came back to her father, she brought it with her. And then they hid it somewhere in this mound. Just a guess.
Well, what do you think is the next move here, Dr. Brody? Do you think we should go and meet with the Chalmers, Andrew, or what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't know.
Might I suggest if you meet with the Chalmers, you meet in small groups? Only because Mr. Chalmers is a bit, he's into the sauce a little bit. There's something about him that he's not a happy man, and he seems to be frequently in the garden, working, chopping wood, or drinking.
This is an indelicate question, but do you suspect that Mr. Chalmers is both father and partner of his daughter?
I do not believe so. They live in separate homes on the property. The original family home, which I'm only assuming, but the original family home is where the daughter and her daughter live. Mr. Chalmers lives in a newer constructed, almost a shanty on the property.
Well,
there doesn't seem to be that kind of connection between them. And
I see. The question would
I've
be
seen other cultures where
their
comes
spouse.
about more. Mm-hmm.
It's a hard life, I imagine. Maybe they've passed on. Well, my question is that how they came to that, having that box in their possession. Is this where the Baudelaires lived at one point? We can investigate that.
I think that might be our best move.
Sorry. Well, the one thing Zephyr says before you're discussing what you want to do is the one thing, as I was mentioning about your balloon, that would help us very much is, due to the lay of the land here and the trees, it would be very helpful to have someone take a look at
An aerial survey.
An aerial survey of sorts. Now, you have an aircraft, you have a balloon, one or the other, I'm sure could do the job, but I leave it up to you. We have our own work to do.
Captain, I'd suggest that it's a little bit easier to have a piece of paper in your hand and draw when you're floating in a balloon than it is when you're flying in an airplane.
I would second that notion, yes.
Would you like to go up with me? Have you ever been in a hot air balloon?
I have been in a hot air balloon, but I'm more than happy to come up and assist. Yes.
Dr. Brody,
and then perhaps the others can go and interview the Chalmers.
Percy?
I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm rather an enthusiastic amateur photographer. And I did chance to bring my camera with me.
There's certainly room for 3 in my balloon.
I thought it might be quite useful to us, providing we have somewhere to develop the pictures.
Well, I'm not sure if would you be able to do them yourself if we could find a light-proof room?
Oh yes, I could. I mean, I I could probably buy the chemicals at the general store.
We'll see if we can rig something up for it to make you a dark room.
It's not a complicated process.
No, a bathroom maybe, or something we can push towels underneath the door or
Yes, yes.
block off the window.
Perhaps the survey team have got something. You'd imagine that archaeologists would have to probably photograph their findings.
Maybe. Well, let's plan on what time is it right now, GM?
It is now after breakfast. You've traveled from the place you were staying to this location, and it was slightly after breakfast.
Well, it'll take me a couple of hours to put things together. If you want, we can go up before noon.
All right. Fine by me. I'm happy to help you set up as well.
Okay. Meanwhile, you gentlemen can go, and lady can go and
interview the Chalmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go speak to the Chalmer folks, see what they may know.
From what Zeph has told us, I might almost suggest that it might be more worthwhile starting with Hope as opposed to Andrew.
The daughter.
In your interviews, I suppose.
I get that sense too.
Yeah.
I can talk to a little girl too. Maybe she's seen something.
Mm.
I wonder what the protocol is. Do you still call Hope Mrs. when she's got a daughter, even though?
I believe the preferred nomenclature in this part of the country is ma'am.
Ma'am, yes.
Strange primitive people.
Americans.
Well, it's quite nice, really, isn't it? It's a little bit like mum.
Like the proper way to say it. Well, yeah, I will then suggest if we would like to go and set things up. It'll take us a little bit of time to unpack and get things ready, but we can start on doing that. So that's what the three of us will be doing.
Just as you start doing that, Dean takes Zephyr to the side and he goes, Reginald gave me a phone call back in Sault Ste. Marie, and he said that I had to get the group here as quick as possible because something had happened here at the dig. Care to fill me in on what exactly has happened? Anything I should know about?
Well, since you've all been speaking with Mr. Deersworth, well, I assume you've met him, all of you?
Yeah.
Sort of. We've seen him.
By moving picture.
He's spoken to
At
him.
least you've been in contact with you. He's given you his blessing to be here. Let's just say the dogs are not only here because we brought a few dogs with us originally. We had to get more. We started with 4, and after the second day of being here, there was 1 dog left. They were tied with strong ropes, but the ropes were severed. They weren't untied. They weren't pulled off of the tree roots they were tied to and such. The ropes were actually severed, and we don't exactly know why. So we sent a group out to collect some guard dogs, and now we have 12. It's a large dig site, and we treat the dogs like we would treat our people. We put them out in shifts, and we bring them in for rest and water. But yeah, I'd say we've got about 6 at a time.
Have you had any other dogs go missing recently?
We've assigned 1 worker to each dog. So that worker is required as part of their duties to do their job but keep an eye on the dogs. Right now, no.
Right.
Now, are we all hearing this?
Yes. Yes.
You might be able to understand that we this whole thing started for us when animals started disappearing.
Exactly.
Very true.
It makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
At least they have a name for dog people. It's normally werewolves.
Well,
Werewolf.
what if they choose to use? Have any people disappeared?
Good question.
No, none that have worked for. Well, there was one fellow that was a local fellow we hired as a bit of a guide. He came to help us. He was drifter, but he was local, as we gathered. He'd come back home to Chillicothe, but he was from what the heck's his name? Revels.
Oh shit!
I wanted to call him
Rebel
Smith. He came from here originally. He's explained a story to us. He was a drifter. He went out west for work. He's come back home. He's not being accepted in the community. We hired him. He worked with us for a couple of days. We really just fed him to be around and point things out and tell us how to get a hold of people or things. And he just wandered off one day, muttering into the bushes. Never saw him again.
Excellent.
No signs of anything untoward. He's just gone.
Yeah, that happens too much. I think that we need to find out from the town of Revelsmith and possibly even check the newspapers in the nearest larger city for missing persons.
Yes.
At least they're dogs. They don't have giant horns on their heads.
But they have big teeth.
Well, that's true. We better all stay armed.
Actually, on that, I go to, I'm assuming wherever my plane and stuff was, my rifle will actually be with all that equipment as well. So I'll grab my rifle, which I haven't been just carrying around with me.
Now, Dearworth told us in his message to us that we could discuss these things with Mr. Montague.
Yes.
We're not like breaking any protocol here by talking about this in front of him.
No.
All right.
Actually, he has banned you from discussing anything with anyone, but...
Well, the others, he said, were just workers that were hired, and he doesn't want
That's
to
right.
alarm the locals. So I understand that.
Decorum at a work site would dictate you talk to the supervisor, the boss guy.
Yeah, we don't want to alarm anybody, but boy, we should have a stock of rifles somewhere in case we need to arm some of the crew.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to go out and open up the crate and get my ship ready, my balloon, and we'll go up and away in my beautiful.
I'm going to make sure that my my camera's equipment is all ship shape and Bristol fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy, do you want to go head out to the Chalmer farm or wherever Hope is staying at?
Well, it's the daytime. Hope is running her grocery store, and her daughter would be in school.
Okay. All right, maybe we can head over to the grocery store then.
Okay, I'll follow you.
And then perhaps you could also check on the missing persons while you do the grocery store as well.
Check the newspapers.
Sure.
Yes.
Zephyr indicates that there is actually a couple of company vehicles you could use. There's a truck, a sedan, and then another truck. So if you wish to use the sedan, he says it actually has gas in it, and he has no plans on using it for the rest of the day.
If you're going to the general store, would you mind if I gave you a little list of some bits and pieces?
Sure, you got American dollars?
Are we not on a retainer?
Yeah, all expenses paid.
Yes.
Okay.
They Zephyr does have funds available within reason for any expenses related to the dig.
Sure. Pile up a list.
Yes, I just need some chemicals, please.
Might as well do it. Take one of the trucks.
Photographic developing chemicals,
Nice.
if they've got any.
Sure
Chemicals.
thing. Sure thing, Grant.
No idea what they're called. Just chemicals.
Take one of the trucks and just fill the back up.
Where's the chemical store?
There's some borax, some ammonia, and some salt.
Okay.
Fertilizer.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm pointing at the windows. That's wrong. So 3 of you are working together at getting the balloon ready, and 2 of you are going to see Hope in town, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Ma and Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's actually it's closer to get to town than it is than just the amount of time to get the balloon ready. So Jimmy and Ma I'll say you get in the car. Who's driving?
I'd say Jimmy, because Jimmy can drive. I don't think.
You need the keys. I'd drive.
As I remember, Jimmy's an excellent avid driver.
Yeah.
It's a fairly straight section of road. I won't make you roll to drive, but Ma, you do get a little frightened, I would assume, because he probably drives a little faster than you would think is reasonable, given the circumstances. You pull back into Revelship. It's Revelship.
I am 2 years older now and mature, so.
Sure.
You've had more experience driving. You've been to driver's ed.
Right.
It lowers your insurance. And so as you're into town, Ma, would you make a spot hidden roll? I guess that's the best, most logical thing to roll.
I do not pass.
Okay. You see houses, you see stores, you see the town hall, you see the hotel that you're staying in, which is relatively small. You see it from another direction as you're coming in. You do see a garage, and eventually you spot the grocery store as you pull in.
Okay.
And it's the only one in town.
Okay.
All up front,
are there
park.
people walking around? Is it, bustling to a degree? Or okay.
Well, small town bustling for 1929.
Right. Okay. All right, we'll head in to the store. Outside, is there a little newspaper box?
No newspapers are inside. You do see an advertisement in the window.
Okay. All right, we'll head in, and I'll kind of scope out the grocery store while I'm picking up Percy's list of things and a couple things for Ma herself.
What you can get.
Yeah.
Some of the things you notice on the list are probably going to be things you have to go to a hardware store for.
Mm.
And they're you haven't seen one yet, but.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure if it was like a all-purpose general store kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is more of a general store, yes.
Can you give us
they do have nuts and bolts and things, but go ahead. Sorry, Jimmy.
Can you give us a sense of 2 things? The landscape, is it flat? Is there trees? Is it mountainous?
In town, it's flat generally.
Okay.
Where you were, there was a creek, not a river, a creek, and there were the mounds, of course. Like you see a few in the distance as well. In the far distance, you see some mountainous areas, but they're not really mountainous, more like high hills rolling.
Okay.
Most of what you see is flat. There are outcroppings of trees here and there, though.
Okay.
Not super forested, not super flat, not super hilly.
Okay. And then about the town itself, is this like a small sleepy town? Is this like I'm trying to get a sense of how big is Main Street? Can you see like all of Main Street from just standing on the corner?
As you pull into Main Street, you can see down like maybe 5 or 6 blocks. It looks like town ends down that way.
Okay.
This is a relatively small place.
Basically like
Maybe.
a farming
Yeah.
atmosphere?
Yeah, like a small farming town. You know that Chilkoot is fairly close by, so it's more like a little small farming outcropper, like where produce would come in to be processed and shipped elsewhere,
Okay.
or co-op
So-
would be here.
So we're in Rebelship. We're not in Chillicothe.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and then in the store, what's sort of the makeup of the people in the store?
There's a few older ladies, a couple of geriatric gentlemen sitting around a Cracker Barrel. Guys sitting in the corner having a smoke and some coffee. It's a lazy kind of town, and so the older people are in here right now. I'd say that you do see a lady behind the cash, a very nice looking woman in her early 30s, and she's got flour on her shirt, and she's wiping off her hands. She must have just sold someone some flour.
Okay. Do they react when we walk in?
They all look
Mhm.
back to what they're doing. There's no
Okay.
it's not like, every head turns and music stops
Okay.
because you're out walking in the moors.
Okay. Ma will, kind of, do a little show that, she's there, for
Yeah.
good purposes, and then, go hunting for whatever she can find in the store that, that they may need.
Okay.
And then we'll head up to the cashier if nothing else happens.
Okay. Well, Jimmy, what are you doing while Ma's wandering around doing some shopping?
Yeah, I think pretty much just following along, maybe grabbing some snacks. Beef
Okay.
jerky.
Okay. Easy enough. You wander, you gather things. Eventually, the woman does come over and says, "Anything I can help you with? You must be new to town. Haven't seen you here before."
Well, hi there. Yeah, we're visiting the mountains nearby. You probably saw the big excavation out there.
Oh, out by the river. That's on my property.
Yeah. Are you Hope Chalmers?
Yes, I am. Pleased to meet you. You are?
Nice to meet you. My name's Ma Mackenzie. You can call me Ma, though.
Oh, very pleased to meet you.
This is
Your
my
accent.
young
Where are
friend,
you from?
Jimmy, who's ruffling through the beef jerky over there.
Oh, yes. Pleased to meet you as well. Where your accent? Where do you come from? You're not from around. You're not from around here.
Yeah, we actually came in from Canada. My accent's probably a little bit more Americanized because I'm not from the big cities, but yeah, we're down from the Great North.
Oh my gosh, you must still have snow. Sorry, everybody says that to me every time I talk.
Yeah, right.
Could be well, very pleased to meet you. Yes, my father made the arrangements to allow that company to be out there doing some work. Very excited to find out what they do find in that big hill mound. I used to play on it when I was a child.
Yeah, I used to play on it. Yeah. So what do you know about the mound, since you've grown up around these parts and you've grown up with it in your backyard?
Mm-hmm. Oh, literally. They're all over the place here. Some are very strange and shaped like snakes, I've gathered. I've never seen one exactly like that. But the ones we have, there's a few you can't see anymore. This one that they're particularly interested in, I remember when I was a child, it didn't have any grass on it.
The rest
I don't remember
of them
much
do?
more than that. The rest of them have been around for a very long time, yes, but that's one of the reasons we always wondered what that was. And it's just somebody said it was built by the Indians like the rest. But yeah, it's a little different, I guess. That's why they're so interested in it, your people.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing too. I'm not really an expert on these engine mounds, but yeah, we heard it was fairly new. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, that's just, I know that when I was a child, it didn't look like the others. It was sort of like a pile of dirt more than anything.
And you've lived here all your life?
All my life, yes.
Is your father nearby too?
Oh, he lives on the property with me.
I'm sure. Is it okay if we talk to him at some point?
Yes, I would suggest. She looks around. If you're going to go talk to my father, I would suggest you catch him before noon.
Okay, it's good to know. Is this? Can we do this very informally, or do we need to make like an appointment? Or I don't want to disturb him.
If you tell him you're with the group, he'll be happy to keep them happy because they've given him a very generous lease fee to work on the mound, and he's quite happy with them so far. Plus, if you say you were speaking to me, I'm sure he'll be fine to talk to you.
Okay. How about the rest of the town? Have they? Is there any animosity between the group because we just got here today, we don't really know what's going on. Is there any animosity with the group in the local town at all?
What group do you mean? The people that your people?
Mm-hmm. The people that lease the land?
People at the dig.
Oh, they've only been here a few days, as far as I know. Everybody is happy with them being here.
Okay.
A week or so at most.
Hope, I also heard you got a problem with bears around these parts.
There are bears, yes. In the past, they've been more of a problem. My gosh, I believe it was my great-grandmother was killed by a bear. I do believe. And yes, it was this is what I was told. My great-grandmother, I believe it was killed by a bear. And someone else in my family was as well. Which is, I don't keep track of family things. My father knows more, though he doesn't really like to speak of it.
So your family?
Yes, we do have bears. A lot of bears. Livestock goes missing. Someone tried to make a go of sheep for wool at one time. The flock was decimated and just dispersed. But yes, there are bears.
Somebody mentioned snakes. I hate snakes. You got a lot of snakes in this area?
We have snakes. You just got to wear boots. Don't go tromping around in the long grass.
Rattlesnakes, poisonous?
Now you're making me remember if there's rattlesnakes in Ohio. I do believe there are.
Probably. Maybe there's a rattlesnake kit?
A snake bite kit?
Yeah.
You'd have to go see the doctor about that, I believe. I don't think I sell anything like that. Or perhaps the hardware store.
Okay. I vaguely remember Boy Scouts having a snake bite kit or something. I don't know.
Gotta suck out the venom. Okay. So your family's been in these parts for a long time, and the mounds, as far as you know, it's always been on the property, or
as far as I know, I don't. I did bring it up with my father once, and he just said it was an Indian mound. He said it's just like the rest of them. Don't go digging around in it.
Gotcha.
Any other weird stories about this town?
About this town? My family and I tend to keep to ourselves. We don't, but there's always the occasional ghost story, voices in the woods. You'd have to talk to my daughter. She seems to think there's voices in the woods talking to her when she goes for walks
Oh, really?
on the way back sometimes.
Do you have a map of the town? Map of this area?
I have one, and she says it's just a small handwritten one that someone left for another person who was trying to find their way to the library recently. So it was just left at her store, and that's all she really has. The town's very small. There's no tourism department or anything like that. So she gives you this little map that really just shows the main drag, about 5 or 6 blocks long, stores and houses and library, his town hall, hotel, and some offshooting streets with a couple of pubs or bars, and some housing and believe it or not, a bowling alley.
Okay, perfect.
No sub shops.
And Ma, did you say you were getting some chemicals for Percy?
Yeah, I was just gonna. Looks like you want some bicarb of soda, borax, vinegar, and I'm sure we got water out at the.
I think he has stomach problems.
Yeah.
And Clayton, just so you know, where's Clayton?
I'm here.
You've wandered in with just so you know, you came to town with Jimmy and Ma, and you've been out by the car wandering up and down the street just looking around. So you can wander in now if you want and take a look around the store if there's anything you want to pick up on your way back to the dig site.
Yeah, nope. I will I will pop in the store and look for, some ammo, just hunting rifle, like hunting ammo and stuff like that, kind of looking around. And
Yeah, she suggests the hardware store for that. So, so is there anything else you want from her before we slip back to the other?
Does your family have any relation to the Baudelaires? We had heard something about them.
No, I don't know that name.
No. Okay.
I don't think there's anyone in town with that name.
Okay. And could we grab a newspaper? Hey, do you get any missing person signs up here in the grocer, or have you heard anything about a missing man?
Well, normally, if there's any wanted people, that would be certainly at the post office, which isn't in the grocery store. It's between us and the hardware store down the way.
Okay.
There's a barber shop and a post office, but just off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone that's been missing.
Okay.
Not lately.
okay, well, we'll check out. I'm Clayton, by the way, and I kind of
Nice to meet you.
And yeah, we'll head off to the post office and the hardware store and that kind of.
Sure. All right. Well, I'll flip back to the others.
Okay.
So, Dr. Brody, Percy, and Captain Montgomery, you've certainly got the balloon.
Yeah,
You've got it.
We've got the hot air.
Takes a
blowing
little bit of
into it.
time.
It's blown.
Yeah. Drives the dogs even crazier than everything else that's bothering them. But and you do see Zephyr just constantly staring at dogs and shaking his head and saying to people, "Can't you shut those things up?" And but either way, the balloon is up, ready to go.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, hop in the basket. I've got this thing set on an automatic. It'll take us up, keep us up there for 40 minutes, and then bring us back down again.
That should be sufficient.
Okay.
Marvelous.
that's-
I've never been in one of these before.
Oh, I didn't take you up in the
So
last.
you jump on in.
Yeah, hop on in.
Hang on. I'm not as sprightly
We
as I
help
used
you. We help you open over the edge.
Everybody gives you a hand getting in.
Thank you
And
very much.
you forget
Picks
a
him
door.
up and puts him in the box.
No. All
The
right.
basket has like a little door you just totally climb over and ignore everyone who's trying to help you get through the door. So you're up. the fellows, they say, do you need us to hold ropes or anything?
No, the thing will crank itself up, and we'll go.
Ah, look at that winch you've got built into that. That's amazing. Excellent.
Now,
so you winch yourself up?
Yeah. All right, and I tell somebody, whoever might be standing around watching, I say, if I yell down for help, you hit that red button there on the the winch. All right, so we go up.
Excellent. It's a sunny day. There's no crosswinds. You rise up above the dig site, and you rise up. How high?
About
do you plan on
300
going?
feet. The highest we're going to go right now.
Okay.
300 feet. I'd better set my lens to infinite.
We're not going up infinite feet, but yeah.
No, it's anything over 30 feet is infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely put the.
And the light's good today, and there's very little wind, so we should be fine.
Just check my light meter.
All right. Well, are you adjusting that before you go up, or while you're up in the balloon?
It'll
Well,
take
I've
at least 10 minutes to get up there.
Okay,
Yes,
you've got.
I'm just sorting my camera out, getting it as ready as I can. I'll have to fine tune once we're up.
All right.
And I've got up.
Well, you rise up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've got my sketchbook out as well to see if I can identify any objects or anything that's unusual. So.
Okay. Well, you rise up above the dig site. You can see, as you rise slowly, it's a perfectly circular mound. It is, even though you've been told that it's possibly not as old as the other mounds in the area, as you rise up, you can see a definite difference in the vegetation between it and the rest of the surrounding land. It's like there are a lot more established trees. There's a foresty area. There's another forestry area here. There's this scrub land that has cedar and things like that. But this mound absolutely definitely does not have the established vegetation that the other areas have. So it does appear to be newer.
Does
And
it
where
look
are
like
they
it
digging?
crosses over any field features?
It's right beside a creek. It's like the creek bends around it, and there's a forest area to the south, a foresty area to the west. Sorry, what was your question, Percy?
Well, are there any field features like hedges or boundaries that look like they've been cut off by the structure?
No. You can certainly see that there's areas where there's the standard Western wooden fence that is built along the property line,
Mm-hmm.
but it's off in the distance. So I'm going to say that after you've been up for a while, you're looking, you're taking photos, you're doing sketches. This is what you've been told is called the Revel Creek. C is the dig site, and that is the squarish mound. Or squarish. Round. It doesn't look square at all. Forested areas. The rest of it is relatively scrubland, scrub brush. You've already been told that the larger house is the one that Hope and April live in, and Andrew's home is B. That's all you really know about that location. So that is what you see.
What are the brown bits?
It looks like there's spaces between trees where you can see earth underneath.
Okay. It's not rock.
It could be rock.
Okay.
Artist depiction.
And when we're looking down at the mound, are we can we see distinctly where they're digging?
Yes. You can see my cursor, right?
Yeah.
You can see that they've started from this side, working their way in. They've started from this side, working their way in. It looks like they were working this way, This side is not touched yet, the side closest to the creek.
Okay.
Okay, we good?
Yeah.
There we go. I'll share that with you after. Now, Dr. Brody, how much higher can your balloon go?
Well, that's a good question. I'm thinking how much rope could be on a winch. 300 feet's a lot.
Yes.
Let's say,
Percy does.
so we think my max would be 500 feet.
Okay. Well, Percy, yourself, and Captain Montgomery, both of you together with your knowledge of photography as well as aerial flight, you think you need to get a little higher to get not only better photographs, but actually get a better view of the whole area.
Okay. Well, can I say then I've got it rigged in a way that I can activate it to go up higher?
Yes. I think 500 is probably the highest you can probably go.
That's pretty high. And there's still
it is fairly high.
Is there still very little wind? Are we drifting?
When you start to go up higher, you do start to feel like you've hit another area where there's like a layer of air that is actually moving now.
Yeah.
So you are feeling yourself drifting. And as a balloonist, you don't feel you would want to go up much higher and still be attached to the ground. You may damage your equipment on the ground.
All right. This is about as high as we can go, folks. Did you guys notice any odd features, or can we see any other mounds in the area from up here?
Well, everybody make a spot hidden, please.
Yay, first spot hidden in the night.
Oh, I got a 7.
That's pretty good.
It's
I
this
got
lens.
a 3.
It's this lens. It
A
really
3?
helps
I
my
got a
eyes
3.
focus.
I passed, but just barely. I got a 40 out of 45.
There are other locations, these 3, where it appears from the air as you're moving around that there are old the ground. You can actually see that there were mounds in these locations or something that has the same general shape, but they've been worn away or weathered or plowed. This was probably farmland at one time that was actually plowed for crops. You're not entirely sure. But the one thing you notice, and this is Captain Montgomery, you notice it first as a trained aerialist. Is that the right word? No. Pilot. That it looks like from the air that at one time the river went down this way.
Right. I say, chaps, it looks like the river may have gone down this way, across this part of, instead of where it is now.
So either it's been diverted, or do you think maybe by putting Mound C there, it changed the direction?
That's what I was thinking, yes.
I'd imagine it must have been diverted rather than happening naturally, because usually when you've got, if I remember my schoolboy geography, when you've got that sort of arcing diversion of a stream, isn't that how you get an oxbow lake?
Then they weather
So it must have
away
been,
to a larger river.
yes, it must have been deliberately done. It must have been done quite
Deliberately, yes.
by damming. Otherwise there'd be process of erosion by which it would have carved out a new route.
But why divert the river unless there's something that was there that they needed to reach?
In that patch of woodland.
Yeah.
Yes, it would seem that the mounds do appear to be clustered around it. I'd best take some photographs of that.
Yeah, and then we can explore it later.
Yes.
So that is what you've gathered. The area that is where the path of the river previously went, or you assume it previously went, that's actually newer forest. It's not as tall as the other foresty areas nearby.
Right.
Certainly not,
Nicer and
like
curious.
10 years old.
Hmm. It's very
Why would you build the mound in the first place? Unless you're trying to hide something.
At the dig, where exactly and what are they digging? Like, from what can we see? Are they digging into the mound, or like around it, or what's the situation? Yeah.
Well, right now it's a proper archaeological dig. They're taking their time. They are excavating, taking out buckets of soil, sifting each bucket of soil, dumping it.
Right.
So bucket by bucket.
We should see if they found any actual Indian artifacts.
Well, I was thinking much the same. Could it be?
We're drifting rather too far. I think we need to go back down. Let's continue.
I would second that. Yes.
So I start the mechanism to pull us back down, and we can keep talking.
I'm just wondering if if it's a relatively new mound in comparison to the Indian mound, and the course of the river has been changed. Could it perhaps be that it's not a burial mound at all, but it's just a spoil heap of material that was shifted to change the route of the river? And if that was the case, surely then what we're looking for would be in the woodland,
as opposed to the mound.
Yes.
But then that also, it's quite strange that the grave
to put it there
next to the grave.
Yes. But why would someone specifically want to reclaim that particular patch of? It's a great deal of work to go to simply reclaim a small patch of land around a stream.
Well, at this point, I think that we don't have enough to form a solid hypothesis. We're speculating.
I'd quite like to perhaps go and have a look at that woodland on the ground.
That and the grave of Miss.
That's what I was going to say. Is I don't know. I know it's a bit insensitive, but have they checked out that grave more thoroughly? Have they, dug it up?
We definitely have some things to investigate over the course of the next few days.
Mm.
I should like to know how Ma and Jimmy and Clayton fared speaking to the Chalmers.
Yes.
And on that,
I was just going to say, watch this last little bit as the basket cranks down. It sometimes tips sideways, so hold on.
Well, I mean, I've enjoyed going up in this thing, but I'd rather be poking around in that woodland. I know where I am on the ground and in the woods, and it's very interesting up here. But
I must say, I felt quite at home up there.
Well, I just think down there the most you've got to worry about is poison ivy, as opposed to falling horribly to your death.
Well, I imagine, Dean, it's a lot quieter than your airplane as well.
Considerably.
And we hit the ground.
Oh.
So, all right, let's
jars the bones, doesn't it?
And I lock it down, and then I say, gentlemen, I need to deflate the whole thing and go.
And I help him.
And hopefully, by the time I've completely deflated the balloon, our GM will have returned from beyond the frozen wasteland.
I'm going to tumble gracelessly over the side of the basket.
And with that, we're down.
No, that was a joke. I went like,
Oh, my hip.
I'm back. You're down.
Yes, we're
What
down.
happened while I was gone?
We
So-
came down.
Oh, did anything else? Did you talk to anybody?
No, we just
Okay.
kept talking until you showed back up again.
I was busy. I was off calculating something. All right. Now let's skip back to Clayton, Jimmy, and Percy.
Okay.
I'm just curious. Do 1929 balloons, when you deflate them, do they sound like a balloon, like,
Yeah.
or do they sound like a whoopee cushion?
They sound like a woofie. They let out a real Bronx cheer.
Sorry, got diverted.
That's okay. So what do you guys have spoken to Hope? You've gone to the hardware store and collected the things that you ammunition Clayton wanted, a few other chemicals. I'm going to say that most of the things for developing you can pretty much find. There's probably a photographer in this small town. So you wanted to go to the post office, did you?
Just to see if there's any, missing person signs up or wanted person. I kind of hand the newspaper over to Jimmy and say, would you mind just trying to find the missing person? My eyes don't work so good, which is Ma's, she read well. So just going to kind of pass that off and then just kind of snoop around a little bit.
Well, I'll go in there with you there, Jimmy.
To the post office? Why? I'm sorry. Why are we?
I just wanted to see if there's anything about that drifter that that they mentioned that kind of wandered off. See if there's anything listed at the post office. Open mentioned that they might have some signs up.
Okay.
Well, there's some wanted posters on the wall. No.
Anyone I know?
Well, there are some that you've probably seen in other locations, perhaps, but there's nobody that you as a Canadian would have actually. There's no.
Yeah.
They're not looking for any major criminals right now in this part of Ohio.
Yeah.
There's the standard U.S. Postal Service most wanted group, but there's nothing about a missing drifter.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't think there was anything else we needed in town. Jimmy and Clayton, do you?
No, I just want to get I mainly got what I needed.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll head back to the dig site. So it's afternoon, so we probably I'll heed Hope's words, and we won't go to speak to Andrew. I'm guessing the old man takes to the bottle and doesn't take visitors after a certain
Some
time.
people say it's always 11 o'clock somewhere. He says 12 is the right time.
Ah, okay. Yeah, he holds off for an hour. Yeah, he has some
But
restraint, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the person at the post office is quite interested. He hadn't seen you. And before he leaves, says, gentleman, lady, ma'am, are you new to town? Could I help you out? Are you looking for anything in particular?
We're here at that dig site down the way. Pleasure to meet you. My name's Ma.
Ted.
Clayton.
Pleasure to meet you. Hey, we were just looking. Apparently, there was a man around these parts recently who kind of wandered into town, kind of a rough fella. Did you hear anything about him?
Like a hobo kind of fella?
Yeah, like a hobo.
Well, we do have a lot of them passing through. It's not, nowadays works get a little hard to get, and they head out west trying to find some work. So it's not unheard of for us to have them passing through. There's always a couple hanging out down behind the alley, behind the restaurants, looking for handouts.
You got a railroad that goes through these parts?
Pardon me, sorry.
You got a railroad that goes through these parts?
Through Chillicothe.
Okay.
There's a spur line, but it's only used for delivering, potatoes and things.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, fuel. Horses.
Yeah, I see.
I just can't imagine what else.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys want to talk to the hobos, see if they know anything about this guy, or do you think it's worth it? I don't know if it's really that worth it. It sounds like this guy was just passing through and probably hit the bottle a little too hard.
What about
Anybody want to do an idea roll? One of you?
What about the police?
I'll let someone else do it. Ma, I think, has kind of made up her mind. She doesn't really want to deal with this guy.
Clayton, Jimmy, one of you guys do an idea roll?
Yeah, just give me a second.
42 is a pass.
Oh, Jimmy got it. Well, you're just sitting there looking around, and Jimmy, you remember your mom, right?
Sure.
She was in the Women's Institute.
Yeah.
Women's Institute, they get together and all the farmers' wives, and they talked about everything. And you look across the way and you see a sign. Chillicothe, Revel, whatever the hell this town's name. I should have called it Revelstoke, but I didn't want to call it Revelstoke. Chillicothe, Revel Creek
Revelship.
Genealogical Society and Women's Institute. Meetings every Wednesday. Today's Tuesday.
All right. I will make a note. I'll point it out to Mom.
Revel Smith.
A little gossip circle.
We might be able to find more about the Chalmers here, or maybe even the Boudelays.
Bet you they
Well,
got some good dirt on the town.
Well, if you look closely, you see it's the Women's Institute meets every Wednesday, but the Genealogical Society is open every day from 12 till 4.
Oh, so they're open now.
Okay.
I'll head over, talk to them.
Yeah, let's head on over. I was just going to head back to the farm, but they may know a little bit about the history of these parts.
I think that's a good idea.
All right. You walk over. There's you open the door and there's a ding ding little bell on a little hook above the door that dings when you open it. Spinsterous old woman comes out and says, "Yes, can I help you?" She's very excited. You imagine there's not a lot of people visiting the Revel Smith Genealogical Society
Yes.
ever.
There's probably not a lot of people visiting any genealogical society.
No. My wife's right upstairs and she does that stuff.
I used to do it too. I kind of still do.
Before
Well,
the day.
can I help you? What are you interested? Are you here for? Are you lost? Are you looking for the post office? It's over there. Grocery store's over there.
No, we're here with the new. I don't know if you've heard about it or not. I assume news travels fast in a small town. With the dig site, the dig area.
Oh yes.
And we're just trying to find a little background information about the town itself, any sort of local history. We have a couple names that we were interested in.
Well, let me see if I can help you. And she says, Mary, come out. And another lady comes from the back, and she's even older and even more spinsterish and even slower. And they're very excited. And would you like tea? Would you like coffee? Have you eaten? They're very excited to have you there. But the other one says, Mary, they're here to find some information. And she says, what could we help you with? We have volumes of information on this town, which makes you laugh because the town is so small. But they have books and books. All of them seem to be written by about 3 different people. And there's photographs. They have information on the history of the town on the wall. It's just your general small town in Ohio. nothing terribly exciting about the background. And they have a card catalog where you would pull out the drawers and there's information. She says, what could we help you with, or would you like to just look? And the other, Mary, the older of the ladies, goes, chicken. She's got a donation box, of course, and she puts it down right in front of you, because this sounds like there's 2 quarters and a nickel in there. But we do take donations.
Wink, wink.
Pay the lady, Clayton, will you?
I'll give them a dime.
Nickel. Dime. Cha-ching! You've doubled their
Big
income
money
for a
these
week.
days. Yeah.
Well, they do have information, and who is going to either sift through the information, or do you wish to rely on them, or both?
Yeah, probably both.
We should. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll kind of talk to the ladies a little bit more, because again, her reading skills are not really up to par. So she's just gonna kind of get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Sure. Well, they want to talk to you. They say they want to know where you're from. They're all excited. You're like a frontiers person. They're very excited at you, because they're in their little frilly dresses, and they smell of mothballs. Very excited. Sure. So they will speak to you. And Jimmy and Clayton, do you guys have any library skills you wish to use or attempt to use?
Let's see here.
I can try, but I only have base.
Yeah, I only have base 2, so.
Well, we'll see.
Roll away.
Fail. 58.
I fail. I got a 68.
All right. You're kind of fumbling away, looking at things, and Ma, you speak to them. How does your discussion go with? How do you discuss this with them?
Well, ladies, we can talk about the great frontiers another time.
Could you attend our meeting tomorrow? Could you attend our institute meeting?
Well, I'll have to check my schedule. We just got into town, so I really haven't set up my
If you
itinerary
can, you would be a hallowed guest.
Well,
but still, what do you want to
make a point to attend?
Well, if you could, but what are you looking for? Is in the meantime, what?
So we're out on the Chalmers property, investigating that mound out there. What do you know about the mounds in these parts?
Indians made them.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all. We tend to not go. It's not really a godly thing to do, to go digging around in their things.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mary says, and they're haunted.
Oh yeah, you got any ghost stories about these?
She starts on a story about when she was a child during the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
and about there was ghosts of Indians they would see in the mounds. And she starts rambling off, and the other lady says after a few minutes, "Save that for the institute meeting. We always enjoy that story." And she says, "Yes, the mounds made by Indians. That's all we know. We don't really dig into them. But what is that? What you are interested in? Because we don't have any historical information on the peoples."
Mm-hmm. What about the Chalmers? How long have they lived on that property? How long have they been out here?
Oh, the Chalmers. Hope is a very nice girl, isn't she? Very nice girl.
Yeah, she was very, very amenable to us.
Very helpful, very nice girl. It's raising her child on her own with her father. It's just, and Mary starts mumbling at something and wanders off. She's upset, obviously, about something.
What happened to the father, if you don't mind me asking?
Do you have any persuade skills?
Just base. I have listen. And intimidate. I could intimidate the old lady.
Tell me,
Pretty
lady,
good at
tell me.
that.
I could charm
Shut
their
that door. Bar it. They're not getting out.
I mean, I'll try to persuade. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll give you a bonus.
Okay, well, I was close. I had a 19 out of 10, so.
I will give you a bonus of 10 because
Okay.
you've agreed to attend their institute meeting.
Yes, all right.
She says, well, it's no secret. Well, it is a secret, but it's a town secret. We know who the father is.
Ah, I see.
It's Andrew Washburn. Andrew Washburn.
Andrew Washburn?
Yes, he's the father, but you did not hear that from us, even though everyone knows. You remember now, the people that own the hotel, the mayor, is Mr. Washburn.
Ah, okay.
He's the only Washburn you've met. And
Well, and I was thinking Andrew the father, and I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, the mayor is Robbie Washburn.
Got it.
He's the hotel owner. And I don't know that you caught the name of his wife.
I don't think so. So wait, I'm sorry. So Andrew Washburn is the mayor?
Yes.
Okay.
But they do tell you it was their son. Sorry, no, I'm sorry. I'm confusing things. I'm making things confusing. The father, the mayor, is Robbie Washburn.
Yeah, okay.
The father of the child is Andrew Washburn, their son.
Robbie's son. Okay.
You did reveal her name. Her name was April.
April's the granddaughter, right?
No, I mean April's the wife of Robbie Washburn.
Oh.
And the granddaughter.
Oh, so they named the baby after the wife or what? Or well, okay, let me ask. So Washburn, that's the mayor's son, right?
Yes, and he does not live here anymore.
I see.
He has gone away to school and then married, and he lives elsewhere.
He skipped town. Well, that's ain't that the digs there. How do you think she's held up being a single mom in this town? She seems to be
We
doing
all support her. The entire town stands behind that girl. But no one else wants to be mayor, it seems. But we support that girl, and it's very sad that her father has had to go through all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I'm sure he'd rather keep under wraps.
He and the mayor do not speak. And if that boy ever sets foot in this town and he is in town at the same time, we are afraid of the fireworks that will come about.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Been in
Go
town
ahead.
long?
Pardon me?
Have the Chalmers been in this town for a long time?
Oh, yes. Yes. They were probably one of the founding. Yes. Were they not married? Yes. They were one of the founding families.
Mm.
So is there other information you're like, are you looking for general information about the Chalmers, or is that
I personally am interested in the Chalmers and the name of Budelia.
The Tremaine.
I was just about to say that. The Tremaine family.
Tremaine? Do we have any Tremaines? And Mary goes and no, we have a record of a Gerald Tremaine who came to town 10 years ago selling snake oil, but he was just he was a man who lived here for 2 or 3 years, and then he just wandered off out west. He wasn't.
Yeah, just to clarify, I think Amelia was writing a letter to her father, which means he would not be in this area, right?
That's correct. Yes, they. If you remember the letter, it was Chillicothe.
Yeah. Wait. So the father does live in the area? Does live in Chillicothe?
Yes, but you're in Revelsmith.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, if you want to look for those names, I can give you a quick summary of what you do find out.
Mm-hmm.
There is an Ezekiel, a Mary, and a Hope Chalmers. Those names are there.
What are the dates that we're looking at, or who are these people in relation to the extant Chalmers?
Well, if you dig a bit, and it takes a little bit of time, you see that an Ezekiel Chalmers from town married a AT. There's a marriage record of Ezekiel Chalmers marrying someone AT is the woman's initials.
AT, that sounds kind of weird.
And the legal documents were signed with an X.
Mm-hmm.
Like the father's signature on the marriage certificate was an X. So whoever AT was, her father signed it with an X. And that's generally what you see for, like, that's the first record of the Chalmers that isn't like just general information. And that was in 1877. There's bits and pieces more, but nothing. It does. If you do an idea roll, I'll do an idea roll. 1 or 2 of you.
Yeah. 06.
Nice.
Okay. Well, if you look back at the letter, AT infers that it was, your idea is that it seems to fit the timeline that perhaps it was Amelia Baudelaire, back to her maiden name,
Nature
AT,
name.
marrying someone named Chalmers in the town in 1877.
Okay.
Gotcha. And Hope is the same Hope that we talked to?
No, there's a record of an Ezekiel, a Mary, and a Hope Chalmers in a cemetery nearby, but you'd have to go there.
Another Hope. Putting the dates together, Mary and Hope, are they like recent or older than the 1877?
More recent than 1877.
Okay.
That's generally, you do find general information about the Chalmers. They have been around for a long time. There haven't been a lot of children. The father, the only father, Mr. Chalmers right now, is the only remaining Chalmers other than his daughter and granddaughter in the area.
Based on the dates, could we tell if it's either Mary or Hope who was Andrew's wife?
No, that information doesn't seem to be there. But they do suggest you go to the local graveyard. There may be some more information there if you wish, or if you want tomorrow, they can give the full details at the meeting. The ladies know more than they have records. You still start to think the records in their office are not as complete as they infer they are, or at least they can't point you in the right direction.
Okay.
Well, Ma will make a point to try and attend the gossip circle.
Mary says, if you like, when you attend tomorrow, when you show up, I can put together a little family tree for you.
Yeah, I will definitely be there. It'd be nice to kind of, to know more about this, but I will definitely be there.
I'm sorry, sir. It's a women's institute meeting. We don't allow men.
Ladies only, Clayton. Sorry.
Ms. Mackenzie can attend, but we generally don't want the men folk around because we can't be open in our talks.
Okay.
So, in essence, in summary, what you've seen from what they have is there is a connection between the Baudelaire lady who was a Tremaine, going back to her maiden name, this is your assumption, and being married off to a Chalmers and coming to this area in 1877.
Okay.
That's how the box got into the family.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just assume you guys are, where are you going to go now that you're done here? I just need to know where you're going. It's now about 2:00.
Okay.
I'll say head back unless somebody wants to go somewhere else.
Do we want to check out the graveyard? What else do we need to figure out? We just need to figure out Mary and Hope, who their relationship is.
Yeah, although you'll probably find out at the meeting tomorrow.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily high priority at this point.
Okay.
But
yeah, let's go back to the dig site and get kind of a lay of the land and figure out, maybe chat up the dig crew and see what they're up to.
Okay. You're heading on back. Dr. Brody, Captain Montgomery, and Percy, back to you.
So we've just about finished packing up the balloon as Ma and Jimmy return up over the hill. And I look out and I see them and I say, "Oh, good, you're back." I think Percy and Dean and I were just about to go do a little exploring. We saw some interesting features from up there. You want to come with us?
yeah,
Sure, might as well. I
Head on
want
over into the woods over there.
there's something I wanted to ask you before you set sail up there. With these mounds, I was curious, did you happen to notice while you were up there, did you notice any depressions?
Did we?
You'll have to explain what you're looking for.
Like instead of mounds, the opposite of mounds, depressions.
Meaning if they took the dirt out to build a mound, then there's probably a depression somewhere where they got the dirt from.
You did not.
How do you know? It's funny you should mention that, Jimmy, because what we did see was the what looks like the path of a previous route to the stream. And I was wondering whether the mounds, so called, might actually be earth that was taken in order to dig the current route.
Yes.
Route
In order to divert the water.
Of the stream.
That makes sense.
So we're going to head into the woods and see if we can find the old riverbed and see where it leads.
Okay.
Do you think we should take one of the dogs with us?
Oh yes, I'm tied up all the time. I'm sure one of them would be glad of a walk.
I think that's an American bulldog over there, isn't it?
I believe they call them old Southern whites.
Ah,
They good bear hunting dogs.
well, let's grab that one over there.
All
And what's your name? Oh, what a cute boy you are.
Well, they're all on edge. The dogs are certainly not. It's not that they're bad dogs. There are no bad dogs. It's not that they are ill-treated or in bad conditions. The dogs, anybody who's owned a dog or been near a dog that's tense, it's a tense dog. It's prickly. I wouldn't say its fur is up all the time on its back, but it's it's just
It knows something's wrong.
Yeah, there's something bothering each dog. So you get a dog, you've got it on leash, and the person whose job is to watch it says, "Take care of that dog. It's my business to keep it alive." It's on a lead. It doesn't tend to run off. It wants to walk beside you. The lead is never taut. It's always loose. It's almost like it's wanting you to protect it from something.
Right. Safety in packs, maybe it feels. Yeah. All right. So let's head over there. Do we have any sense of scale? How far that was, the trail going through the woods? We were up high.
Like 600 feet, 700 feet. It's
Okay.
not a huge area.
All right. Let's keep our eyes peeled.
That's another good question I wanted to ask. Approximately how high is the mountain?
You can't see over it standing, but it's definitely, you estimate, about 15 feet high. It's like a small hill. The only reason you notice it's a mound is because the rest of the ground's flat and it's perfectly circular.
Okay, 15 feet. Okay.
So, and we thought too, after we've explored this, we'll see if they've actually found any Indian artifacts
Yes.
in the mound. I mean, if it was made by the Chalmers or the whoever way back when, then there shouldn't be anything in there but dirt and whatever they were hiding.
Yes. And we need to check and see if there was if they've checked the grave at all.
Right.
See if that was anything was found there.
What you found out. So.
Does anyone in our group, and I'm looking at Mr. Montgomery when I say this, is anyone here familiar with archaeology or anthropology? I get them mixed up.
Dr. Brody has a general science background.
I guess what I'm asking is, do we know specifically what these mounds are used for? Are they actually burial?
I have some history.
I have a 30 in anthropology.
I have a 30 in history.
So I think that traditionally Indian, or their burial mounds. But
for like one person, or would it be a mass grave?
I don't know. Maybe for the chief leader. I really don't know the answer to that. If I roll, can I look it up on the internet?
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's also how much was known back then. But yes, go ahead.
Okay.
And then part two of that would be: are they generally buried like with artifacts, or are they just?
Well, I know that they've dug up pots and things like that.
Yeah, sort of like the Egyptians.
I got a 17. So
that's good.
And we're walking and we're walking.
And the woods are walkable. It's certainly not, overgrown to the point where you can't pass it. You are conscious of the fact that there could be snakes here.
Oh yeah.
There could be, rattlesnakes, but it is a warm springish day, so they are coming out of their dens. So you have to be careful. You walk you cross the river, the creek. There's a little bridge that has been constructed that somebody did at one point with a couple of split logs side by side, another couple on either side. So bound together with a couple, the equivalent of a 2x4. You cross over, you're in the wooded area. Trees aren't very tall, but you're certainly in it. And almost immediately as you walk, you can see where the old riverbed was.
Oh.
How was your first trip up on the hot air balloon there, Mr. Percy?
It was rather exhilarating. There's much to be said for the fresh air up there. It's a little bit chilly, so I rather enjoyed the experience. Now I've got a background as a naturalist. So I have natural world, and I also have forest survival. And I'm just wondering, can I look at the course of this river and maybe poke about with my shooting stick. And I mean, is there evidence of clear sort of strata of different soils and silts that you'd expect if it had just naturally weathered away? Or does it look like stuff's been just piled in there?
You mean in the riverbed, the old riverbed, or
Yeah.
just the ground itself?
The ground of the old riverbed.
The ground of the old riverbed certainly has the appropriate stratigraphy where it's the gravel, the silt, the soil, like the rut sand. Everything seems to be right where for a proper riverbed that's just dried up or diverted.
Well, I suggest we follow this this riverbed.
Do you have geology or anything like that?
I've got chemistry and natural world.
I have navigate.
Well, you certainly can find your way upriver or downriver if you like. It's not super large and it's not a super long piece of
Yeah.
land.
I also have navigate pretty good.
Okay. Well, if you go, let's just say you head north because it's left or right, up the riverbed while you're walking, and you get to the edge of the woods and you can see as you approach where the new river is, well, not the new, but the current river is, somebody has constructed a dam of sorts that seems to be very hard packed clay and stones. It's actually well constructed like a wall, and very little water seeps through that. Someone has actively created something and diverted this water from this location to the other at some point.
I thought as much.
Wow. No, that's
If that's the case, I think we need to head into the woods here.
yeah. How long would that have taken? Like, I'm just thinking to myself, how long would that have taken? Must have taken them a long time.
Well, with the tools back then, a lot of it would be by hand, and it's a fairly large diversion. It would take someone, a few people, a number of weeks of work, backbreaking work to do this.
It's a lot of hard work for just. Well,
Yeah.
it makes me. So what's in that wood that was so important that they wanted to divert the. I mean, if you look at the shape of these of this river, it doesn't look like it's being used as a boundary.
Mm.
And it was quite straight before, which would have made a better boundary. I suggest that we head and have a look.
So there must have been something perhaps under the water that they had to remove the water for.
Or for
to get
some
to.
reason, whatever they were doing, it was very important that they did it exactly there.
Is it possible we're overthinking it? That could it just be that they needed dirt to build the mound?
But they would have taken more dirt out to make the diversion, and they don't appear to have backfilled the old riverbed because we can still see it, and it's still got its normal silt layers and things in there.
I guess what I mean is, what if they were digging near the river in order to build this mound, and in the process, the wall break, like maybe they got too close to the river, the wall broke free, the river diverted naturally.
No, I
But
think
the mound is on the other side, though.
I think they're trying to hide. I think they're trying to find something, or
Well, the question is why? Well, it's why divert the river? What are they
Exactly,
protecting?
yes.
What are they protecting from the water? Is there a cave or something farther down that we're missing?
I think that's we follow the river down and we keep our eyes peeled and see if we see anything unusual, as you say, like a cave or something perhaps like that, and see if we can find anything, any reason of why the river was diverted.
GM, it's not obvious that it's like just for irrigation, that they needed the water elsewhere.
No, this is not a farm field. There are farm fields all around, but this location here it's too heavily treated. It hasn't been a farm field.
All right. Also, keep an eye open. Maybe there's, if there's a rocky riverbed or whatever, maybe we'll find something in it. You look down, you might find a flint or some indication of a primitive.
I'm going to be poking and sifting with my shooting stick.
Okay.
As we progress.
Well, do you want to do as you're walking down the riverbed, do a spot hidden, everyone.
Okay.
Go.
I made it.
I missed it by 1 point.
36 out of 60. Not quite a hard.
Okay, Clayton, Percy, both of you do actually find Percy, you find a piece of flint that was probably used. It looks like a tool, like the edge is sharp and knocked off, chipped off like a stone tool of sorts that was at the edge of the water, but a little worn. And Clayton, you find an arrowhead. You know right away what it looks like because you've seen them in Canada.
Wow. How big is it?
Like, it's a spearhead. It's for whales.
That's I understand that. Yeah. But is it bigger than normal or is it smaller than normal?
Just typical of what you've seen elsewhere, like maybe if a museum or like a sideshow is going through town. Yeah, stone arrowhead. All right, so you guys keep walking. You're walking, and I do need everybody to do another spot hidden as you're getting towards the middle of the woods. I need to know how well you
that one. Got a 19 out of base 25.
Okay.
I also passed on my spot hidden as well. Yeah.
How well?
Failed that one.
I got a 10 out of 60.
Okay.
I got a hard success.
Sorry, excuse me. I made it for a 9 out. I made it by 1.
Okay. Dr. Brody, you're the one who sees something first. Not in the riverbed, but as you're walking down the riverbed, looking left and right, east and west, number one, you see a difference in elevation along both sides of the riverbed. It's almost like the riverbed was cutting through something. And as you approach, it looks like there was a mound there at one time that the riverbed had cut through.
Mm-hmm.
And you do see what looks like a small excavation. Like somebody has dug into one of the sides of the riverbed toward the edge where the mound is.
Look there.
Aha.
I see that too.
Does it look recent?
Yes, it does look recent.
So they needed to move the water so they could do a little excavation around here.
This looks very recent. Like it doesn't look like
we're not the only one doing some digging.
Yeah, this is extremely recent. Like there's still soil on the ground, that the dusty soil that hasn't been rained upon.
What is this? So we're not talking 1800s recent. We're talking about day after yesterday or day before yesterday.
Yeah.
Can anyone track? Is anyone a good tracker? Perhaps we could.
Clayton,
you're looking at a pretty good tracker.
Ace tracker.
Do you think you could perhaps try and see which direction whoever was doing this might have gone? And
well, I will try with my best of abilities to try and track.
Clayton can put his ear against the ground and tell us what they're doing right now.
16 men coming on horses
Yes.
from Chillicothe.
And I just hit it. I got a 40 out of 40.
All right. It hasn't rained, so you can see very clearly that somebody has been doing something here, digging a hole into the side of this former mound area. If you assume it's a mound, and they've made a bit of a mess. It isn't professional looking. You notice this isn't like where the people were digging and sifting soil. But you've noticed what they did at the other excavation. They sifted soil. And there's little piles of sifted sand and piles of things that didn't go through the screens. In this case, it's just dirt thrown all over the place. Someone's dug a hole, and there seems to be footprints, not very large, moving across the riverbed, up the other side, and then it becomes grass and trees, and you kind of lose it after about 30 or 40 feet into the trees and bush, because it's just grass and trees and bush. And it isn't today that this happened.
Bare
But you
footprints?
Yes, there are footprints, yes. Well, marks.
Are they human bare feet, or? And I mean,
Yeah.
no shoes on, or do they have shoes? Are they
Shoes.
Perhaps it could be the daughter, April, the little girl.
Is there any like distinguishable markings in the on the shoe? Is there like any distinguishable markings?
I'll give you that. It is a hard-soled shoe, like a hard-soled shoe, and it definitely has the shape of a child's shoe,
like Sunday shoes?
like Sunday shoes. Yes.
Could I, using my shooting stick, could I have a poke about in the bit where they'd been excavating?
Yes.
Is there anything in there?
They've
Fragments,
literally
any-
dug into the side of a mound. They've dug into the side of an old clay earthen mound, maybe about 5 feet, 6 feet.
Does it look as if anything's been removed from the spot? Like, is there a indentation of like a box or anything like that?
Maybe. It's hard to say.
Gentlemen,
Make a
you know
small
we
pick. Just you, Captain Montgomery? And then put your
We-
camera on the dice. No, I'm joking.
we could be looking at the proverbial little kid playing, and we're thinking there's some significance to it. But
Did you want me to roll for a spot hidden on that?
Yes, please. Only you.
I'm
pointing.
gonna sit down on my shooting stick
Okay.
and survey the scene.
I didn't pass.
Perseus surveying the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be nothing, but you know what? Might as well make sure, it's good that, that we'll actually find this information, or it could just be a completely useless information. Who knows?
Now look. Making a. Sorry, hang on. Oh, caught up. Making. I don't know if I'd be able to do this, but could I possibly make a tracking roll, or perhaps a spot hidden? I don't know which would be the more appropriate. To try and distinguish as best I can how this trench has been excavated. Has it been dug with shovels, or has it just been scratched out with sticks over a long period of time?
Whichever you choose to roll. Whichever you think is the best choice. I'll give you that.
I'm going to go for tracking, which is lower, but I think it will be more appropriate. Because I'm looking for marks, specifically looking for marks in the ground,
Mhm.
which is the sort of thing.
Yep.
I've got a 19 out of 50.
Yes, you see there are marks about this wide. Well, this wide. Not shovel width, but not like a garden spade.
Hmm.
And they're definitely pointed and shovel shaped. Because you can actually see a few spots where like somebody dug into the soil and pulled soil away. So yes, you can see that just like someone digging in the garden, you can see the shape of the spade, but it's actually wider than a garden spade, smaller than a regular shovel.
Just to clarify that, you're talking about determining how the riverbed is, not where this little excavation thing is, right?
Oh no, I'm talking about the excavation, the trench into the mound. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So perhaps a smaller, something an archaeologist would use to dig,
Mm.
as opposed to a big old shovel.
Well, it could just have been an amateur archaeologist, couldn't it? But I'll point it out to everyone nonetheless. So look, you can see here. Look, there's marks of a shovel here.
You all see it. You all see it now.
Now, the diversion of the river, that's been there for a long time, hasn't
Wow.
Very long. Yes.
it? Yeah.
Well, you guys know there's roughly 20-some people just on the other side there that are archaeologists.
Yeah. Maybe one of them knows something that the others don't.
Although we did say the footprints looked that of a child, didn't we?
Oh, that's true.
What if the child was just accompanying the person?
Which is why I was suggesting perhaps we should have a chat to young April, Hope's daughter.
Looking at the
Perhaps she borrowed
Sorry.
a spade.
But why would she be doing that?
Perhaps she borrowed a spade from the archaeology dig site and used it to dig something up.
Oh.
Because he did say that the daughter's been watching them. Zephyr Montague said that the daughter has been watching them from the bushes and from the trees and stuff like that. So she's been hanging around and watching them.
It's
No.
possible she was just
I-
imitating them.
I might have forgot. I might have missed this when I was gone. How old is April?
10.
Okay.
Percy, you were saying something?
I was just wondering, judging by the level of foliage growth on this mound in the woods, which does it resemble most? One of the ones we know to be Indian mounds, or the one we suspect to be more modern?
Based on the tree growth, actually the trees within the mound itself that have grown up, it appears to be one of the older original Indian mounds.
Uh-huh. And where is it particularly in relation to the old riverbed?
It's the old riverbed cut through this mound. The mound is actually split into two, quite worn, quite much lower than the others you see out in the open. Trees are growing up through it. It seems, estimation, Dr. Brody, a biologist, his science background, everyone's discussions, it appears to be quite old. And it's been split in half by the old riverbed. That's it, really. I mean, it's very old looking. It's not, some of the ones that you've seen driving through the area or on the trains and such appeared to be much newer, much higher up.
So the trench that's been dug into it is from the point where the riverbed intersects it into one side of it.
Yes.
Is there a corresponding excavation on the other side?
Good question. Yes, you actually do see that there are shovel marks everywhere on both sides. It seems that somebody hit this spot and decided to keep digging.
Hmm.
Did you guys hear that?
Did we hear what?
Sounded like laughing, giggling.
I'm starting to pull out my gun.
As do I, yeah.
Hello, is there someone there?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just paranoid.
It could be noise from the camp. Noise travels in the countryside.
I've only got bass, but can I do a listen roll?
Did it
Yeah, I
sound
was
like a
gonna
little
say.
girl's roll? Lance?
That's what I was going to say. It sounded like a...
Yeah, could I do listen roll too?
You can all do listen rolls, yes, if you wish.
Oh,
No, that's a pass. That's a fail. That's a big fail.
that's a pass.
I got a 16 out of 50.
Okay, fuck. I got 100.
Oh
100.
no!
Oh my God, Clayton!
just
you
went
just
deaf.
fell off.
Clayton, you can hear laughing in the distance, and the only thing you can think of is when you were a child, hearing from the native people who grew up around the town you lived in, talking about little people in the woods. But everyone else, you hear dogs barking, excavation sounds. That's about it.
So we're still relatively close.
You don't hear that?
Clayton, how can you hear anything with that banana in your ear?
Not in my ear.
It's an ear trumpet.
I don't know. Little girl, April, are you here somewhere? I yell out. Nothing.
Nothing.
I'm gonna
Silence.
just climb out the side of the ditch so that I'm up on the top there and just kind of just look around.
I'm going to take out my little packet of humbugs, my bag of humbugs from my pocket with a flourish, and rustle the paper, and take out a humbug and start sucking it.
That does always attract children.
That attracts children. Yeah. Scientifically proven that will attract children.
Oh,
I thought Humbugs was a cigarette.
No. Where did you grow up?
Stripy sweets.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to assume you've done your bit. You've excavated. You've gone back to the excavation. Are you going to tell Zephyr of what you found, or no?
Well, I think we should. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's getting close. Now that you've finished, it's getting close to the end of the day. I will assume it's time for dinner. You're going to everyone's kind of dogs are going to pack up the dogs, put them in their kennels for the night. There's people doing guard watch, of course, because of the bear threat. And are you going to head back to the hotel, or are you going to stay at the dig site for the night? There's no place for you to sleep, really, but it's entirely up to you what you wish to do.
I just realized we had the dog with us, and we totally could have gotten the dog to go and find the girl.
You coulda.
He could have brought her back between his jaws.
I don't think it would have been a good idea to
Hey,
let
the dog found it. Like, as long as the dog did its job.
Oops.
Just comes back with like a leg.
Kid's leg.
So, where are you guys going to head? I mean, it's the end of the work day. Everyone's packing up.
Is there a place you can get a drink?
You can go to the hotel where you stayed, and there's actually a bar in the hotel. Or there's 2 pubs in town as well.
Where are the archaeologists and stuff staying?
They're all camped out at the site.
They're camped out.
I'd almost say if we're going to get a drink somewhere, I'd prefer to maybe go onto one of the pubs in town, or perhaps where there's more people, and we can maybe ask some questions while we're there, perhaps.
Well, should we chat it up with the archaeologists?
Yes, that's good point.
I mean, we can chat it up with them for a couple of hours, drink some with them, and then go back to the hotel.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, well, prohibition. We're at a campsite.
Yeah, the campsite will probably.
Everyone has a flask.
The thorn in every GM side.
I'll have to set my games accordingly.
It'll be over in 4 years.
That's right. Well, I'll just assume you're going to head to the pub, and we can start the game up there next time.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're probably going to chat with the archaeologists. And then
Yes, well, we can do that first, and then, yeah, you can do that as soon as we start next time.
All right.
Before we go, can I ask, what is a hunting stick?
Shooting stick.
Shooting stick.
It's got a spike on one end that you ram into the ground, and then this end, the handle, opens up and forms a seat that you can sit on. It's like a sort of sit on it like this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see, like, sort of like that. Can't
How
see.
does it relate?
Oh, this modern technology.
Don't fall over.
Some of them have a much bigger seat with like little leather things on there.
Why is it related, or why is it called a shooting stick then?
It's called a shooting stick because while you were waiting for the bearers to go out and scare up the birds,
Oh,
you'd be standing at your position for a shoot. So
Okay.
you'd have that to rest on, so you could just sort of lean back on it and rest on it.
And what do the men call that were flushing out the birds? Was there not a term for them?
Beaters.
Beaters.
fodder.
Yeah.
Our players included Mick Swan, Jeff Wilkins, Corey Heisted, Zane Fleming, Troy Wheeldroyer, and myself with Sean Little as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments we'd like to read. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft on the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.